A billionaire wearing a perfectly tailored Italian suit worth nearly $15,000 walked into Judge Judy's courtroom with the confidence of a man who believed the law could never touch him. His diamond cufflinks sparkled beneath the lights, and the luxury watch on his wrist cost more than most people's homes. Every step from his handmade leather shoes echoed across the courtroom floor, like a reminder that money had always protected him. His name was Daniel Wellington III, a hedge fund billionaire worth over $3 billion. Daniel owned penthouses across Manhattan, London, and Dubai, private jets, luxury yachts, political connections, celebrity friendships. He had spent decades building an empire fueled by wealth and influence. But on this morning, none of that mattered, because sitting quietly in the courtroom gallery was Maria Gonzalez, a 67-year-old housekeeper who had worked for Daniel faithfully for 8 years. Her arm rested in a cast. Her hip was still healing, and according to prosecutors, Daniel Wellington himself was responsible. Maria had spent years cleaning his mansion, organizing his schedule, and managing his demanding household. Then suddenly, Daniel stopped paying her. For 3 months, she continued working without receiving a paycheck because she feared losing the only stable income supporting her family. When she finally asked for the $18,000 she had earned, Daniel lost his temper. The confrontation ended with Maria falling down a marble staircase inside his penthouse. She suffered a broken hip, a fractured wrist, and severe emotional trauma. Then things became even worse. When police officers arrived, Daniel allegedly attempted to bribe them with cash to make the entire incident disappear. And now he sat inside Judge Judy's courtroom, acting as if the entire case were beneath him. Monday morning, Los Angeles Superior Court. The gallery was packed with reporters and spectators who had already heard rumors about the billionaire defendant. "All rise," the bailiff announced. Judge Judy entered calmly and took her seat. The People versus Daniel Wellington III. Daniel barely looked up from his phone. "Good morning, Mr. Wellington," Judge Judy said. "Morning," Daniel answered casually. No respect, no concern, just arrogance, Judge Judy immediately noticed. "Put the phone away and address this court properly." Daniel sighed before slipping the device into his pocket. "Fine, Your Honor." The sarcasm in his voice filled the room. Judge Judy reviewed the documents in front of her. "Mr. Wellington, you are charged with felony assault causing bodily injury, wage theft, attempted bribery of law enforcement officers, and obstruction. How do you plead?" Daniel leaned back comfortably. "With all due respect, Your Honor, the situation has been exaggerated. This was nothing more than a workplace disagreement with an emotional employee." Murmurs spread through the courtroom. Judge Judy stared directly at him. "A workplace disagreement?" "She fell," Daniel replied coldly. "I never intended for anyone to get hurt." "And the unpaid wages?" Daniel shrugged. "She was no longer performing her duties properly. Expensive items were damaged. Important instructions were ignored." Maria lowered her head while wiping tears from her eyes. Judge Judy's expression hardened. "So instead of paying a 67-year-old woman what she earned, you physically confronted her?" Daniel laughed softly. "Your Honor, $18. 00 is insignificant to someone in my position. This was never about money. It was about standards." The atmosphere in the courtroom instantly changed. Judge Judy folded her hands. "Your wealth does not place you above the law. I employed dozens of people." Daniel continued confidently. "I understand labor management better than most people here. And yet you apparently don't understand basic decency," Judge Judy replied sharply. Daniel's expression tightened. Judge Judy turned toward the prosecution. "I understand there is security footage from the residence?" "Yes, Your Honor." Daniel immediately sat forward. "That won't be necessary." Judge Judy ignored him. "Play the footage." The courtroom monitors flickered on. The video showed Daniel's luxurious Manhattan penthouse. Marble floors reflected the lights overhead, while expensive artwork covered the walls. Then Maria appeared on screen. She approached Daniel nervously while he worked on his laptop. "Sir, I'm sorry to bother you," Maria said quietly, "but it's been 3 months. I really need my paycheck." Daniel never looked up. "We already discussed this, but I worked every day," Maria answered carefully. "My grandson needs medicine. I need the money." Daniel suddenly slammed his laptop shut. "Your performance has been unacceptable." Maria stepped backward nervously. "I've tried my best." "You embarrassed me in front of guests," Daniel snapped. "You broke expensive items. You forgot instructions." "I apologized for the accident," Maria said softly. Please, I just need what I earned. Daniel stood up. The difference in size between them became intimidating immediately. You people always want something, he said angrily. The courtroom fell silent. My grandson needs medicine, Maria whispered. That is not my problem. Maria slowly backed closer toward the staircase. If you don't pay me, I may have to contact the labor board. The second those words left her mouth, Daniel exploded. You'll do no such thing. Then it happened. The cameras captured everything clearly. Daniel shoved Maria violently backward. Gasps filled the courtroom as the elderly woman lost her balance and tumbled down the marble staircase. Her body slammed against the steps before crashing onto the floor below. People in the gallery covered their mouths in horror. Maria screamed in pain. Her arm bent unnaturally, but instead of helping her, Daniel simply stood there. Then he pulled out his phone. Get over here immediately, he said. We have a situation. For 5 full minutes, Maria cried at the bottom of the stairs while Daniel discussed damage control. When paramedics arrived, Maria tearfully explained that Daniel had pushed her. Daniel interrupted immediately. She fell. Moments later, police officers entered the penthouse. Officer Rodriguez knelt beside Maria. Can you tell us what happened? He pushed me, Maria whispered. Officer Kim turned toward Daniel. Sir, we need to ask you some questions. Daniel smiled arrogantly. This is being blown out of proportion. The officers remained calm. Sir, the injuries are serious. Then Daniel reached into his wallet and removed a thick stack of cash. What do you gentlemen make in a year? He asked. Officer Kim stared at him. Excuse me. Daniel held out the money. Take 50,000 each and classify this as an accident. The courtroom erupted in disbelief. Sir, Officer Rodriguez asked carefully, are you attempting to bribe police officers? Daniel laughed. I donate more money to police charities than you'll ever see. Officer Kim immediately placed him under arrest. You're under arrest for assault and attempted bribery. Judge Judy stopped the footage. The courtroom sat in complete silence. Maria quietly wiped tears from her face. Daniel, however, adjusted his cufflinks calmly as if none of it mattered. Judge Judy stared directly at him. Mr. Wellington, we just watched you assault an elderly woman and attempt to bribe police officers. What exactly would you like to say for yourself? Daniel cleared his throat. With respect, Your Honor, footage never tells the entire story. Judge Judy looked stunned. Entire story? At my level, Daniel answered confidently. Situations like this are handled differently. I manage billions of dollars. Thousands of livelihoods depend on me. You pushed a woman down a staircase. It was not intentional. She suffered severe injuries. Daniel spread his hands. I contribute more to society in a month than most people contribute in a lifetime. Judge Judy's patience finally began disappearing. None of that gives you the right to abuse another human being. Daniel leaned forward. Your Honor, I think you should consider carefully how you proceed here. The courtroom stiffened instantly. Judge Judy's voice became colder. Is that a threat? Daniel smiled faintly. I'm simply reminding you that I have relationships with influential people, governors, senators, donors. My legal team can make this extremely unpleasant. Judge Judy's expression turned icy. Mr. Wellington, I have spent 40 years dealing with arrogant people who believe money places them above justice. Daniel suddenly stood. You have no idea who you're dealing with, he shouted. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. I have funded campaigns that put judges into office. I know people who can destroy careers overnight. Judge Judy stood as well. Sit down immediately. But Daniel had completely lost control. You're nothing, he yelled while pointing toward the bench. People like you survive because people like me allow it. I can ruin you with one phone call. The bailiffs immediately rushed toward him. You're making the biggest mistake of your life, Daniel screamed. Bailiff, restrain the defendant. Judge Judy ordered. 3 bailiffs struggled to control him while his attorneys desperately attempted calming him down. The courtroom erupted into chaos. Maria looked terrified. Reporters scribbled furiously. Even spectators appeared stunned by Daniel's behavior. Finally, the courtroom became quiet again. Judge Judy looked directly at him with controlled fury. In 4 decades on this bench, she began, I have never witnessed such arrogance, cruelty, and contempt for the justice system. Daniel remained silent while bailiffs held him in place. You assaulted an elderly woman. You stole wages from someone who depended on you for survival. You attempted to bribe law enforcement officers, and then you threatened this court. Judge Judy paused. Mr. Wellington, today you are finally going to learn something your money could never teach you. The room became completely silent. For felony assault causing serious bodily injury, I sentence you to the maximum penalty available under this court's authority. Daniel's confidence finally disappeared. For wage theft, you will pay full restitution and additional damages to Maria Gonzalez. Maria covered her face while crying softly. For attempted bribery and contempt of court, additional penalties will be imposed immediately. Daniel shook his head. This is insanity. Judge Judy ignored him. And because you openly referenced political influence and abuse of power inside this courtroom, I am forwarding the full record of these proceedings to federal authorities and financial regulators for further investigation. Daniel's face turned pale. Your Honor? No, Judge Judy interrupted sharply. You spent years believing your wealth protected you from consequences. But money cannot buy morality, and it cannot erase accountability. The bailiffs prepared to escort Daniel away. At that exact moment, his phone began vibrating nonstop. Musts flooded in from investors, executives, and board members. The courtroom footage had already started spreading online. Financial news exploded with headlines. Billionaire executive assaults elderly employee. Hedge fund CEO attempts to bribe police. Judge Judy erupts after courtroom threat. Investors panicked. Business partners cut ties. Sponsors disappeared. Corporate boards scheduled emergency meetings. By the following morning, Daniel Wellington III was no longer viewed as a respected billionaire. He had become a national symbol of arrogance and abuse of power. His empire began collapsing under billions in investor withdrawals. And while Maria slowly recovered surrounded by family members who loved her, Daniel sat alone in a jail cell, finally facing something he had avoided his entire life: consequences. Because in the end, the most dangerous thing Daniel Wellington ever believed was that wealth made him untouchable, and that illusion cost him everything.